Welcome, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Lee Wanika. And this is Tabletop Journeys, where we will be your not-so-humble guides on the quest for RPG adventures.
All right, welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Tabletop Journeys. Very excited to once again have a friend of the show and guest from Crowbar Creative, Brian Saliba, on with us tonight. We are going to be doing the long-promised and finally scheduled playthrough of the Monty Python Cocurricular medieval reenactment program. There we go. I want to get the name right there. And we're going to be starting with character creation tonight. We're going to go through the character creation process, and then next week on the show, we're going to have an actual playthrough with Brian here, running us through the game. So, I guess without any further ado, Brian, the floor is yours, sir.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having me back, guys. So the first step in character creation is just simply choosing your situation. So in this program, your character class is referred to as your situation. So you've got 10 options to choose from. And if you have the latest versions of the character sheets, which I think you do, there's one for each of the different situations. And we'll set that up here. So this is the cleric, and there's another cleric. It seems like I have all clerics, but it's a monarch.
All clerics.
There we go. It's an all cleric party. Noble. So yeah, you've got 10 to choose from. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory in terms of what they are. I mean, if you see knight, that means you're a knight. Troubadour.
In terms of like mechanics, like again, all of us here will play whatever. But is there a certain combinations that you think would best like showcase different mechanics for us in the game?
No.
All right, then I call enchanter.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's great.
I play whatever sounds interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to be a troubadour.
Okay, then I will be. I'll be the monarch.
All right. Okay, so
How do we know he's a monarch?
I don't have shit all over.
He's the only one that doesn't do it. Right.
Let's see.
So if you have your the sheets for your particular situation in front of you, I will see if I can find one for each of you guys so I can kind of follow along with you.
All right, I'm up.
I might be lacking the elusive enchanter, but that's all right. So I'll walk you through kind of the general layout of the character sheet, and then we'll just kind of go through character creation step by step. It's pretty fast and pretty simple and fairly random. So the main things to note on your character sheet to begin are these 5 lines. So the first step in creating a character, you're going to be filling in these 5 lines. These are your traits, and they are the kind of building blocks of your character. Since you've got the pre-filled character sheets, your must-have traits, the ones that are required for your particular situation, are already in here for you. Okay. So what I have the troubadour here, so you have to have bardistry, you have to have luck. And so those are already in there for you. Now, for each of your traits, you'll see that there's this white box next to them. This is where your accoutrements go. So for each one of your traits, you're going to have one piece of equipment. And your job is to go to the table in the book for each one of the traits, and you'll see in the spread where the traits appear, there's this D10 table. So if you've got animal husbandry, you're going to roll a D10 on this table and place that item in that box next to animal husbandry.
All right.
So that is the
what page are traits on? Do you know? in the book?
They're on.
It's like 49.50 somewhere where it starts.
Yeah,
They start with 48 and run through 83.
Brilliant. Okay.
All right. So I have a D10 for sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 3. I have a shrunken head.
All right. So what you want to do is just record in this box next to sorcery, shrunken head.
And then apparently that also gives me a +1 lorefulness.
Now, yes, it does. But here's something that everybody misses, and I think this is a graphic design fail on our part. But if you look at the top of any of those tables, you see where it says the name, in your case, sorcery accoutrements. You see that black box under it? All grant +1 to sorcery rolls. So what's in the table is what else it does.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So in that box, next to sorcery, you would write shrunken head, +1 to sorcery, +1 to lorefulness.
And that's not a step up or step down. That's just like whatever I roll and then add a singular one numeral. Gotcha.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
So the best thing for you guys to do now is to get your accoutrements filled in for your must-have traits. Now, as a monarch, Josh, you've got 3 traits that are must-have.
I do, yes.
You have less choice as a monarch, but, such as the price of the crown.
Heavy as the head that wears the crown, exactly, yeah.
And then you also have a retainer. Hold off on that for now.
Sure.
We'll do that in a bit. So if you guys all just go and do your accoutrements for each of your must-haves, and then we'll circle back and do the next thing.
Okay. So looking at the character sheet, what page am I going to the book to write in those? Because I have, as a troubadour, I've got bardistry and luck as my must-haves.
Right.
And then I get to fill in 3 additional ones is what I'm hearing, right? Or
we're going to do that, but not as a first step.
Okay.
You are going to be filling in traits or retainers for each of these, but for now, we're just going to do your accoutrements next to each of your must-have traits. So we just need to know what your bardic and luck accoutrements are.
Okay.
And so for me, I only have sorcery as my only. Gotcha. Okay.
But for you as a sorcerer, or sorry, as an enchanter, you see that the next step of character creation for you. I'm not sure if you're looking at this spread with this is where the enchanter is. So each of the situations has a spread, and on that spread is a step-by-step for how you create a character. I'm kind of taking you through that, but yours, Michael, is on 97.
Okay.
And yes, you do only have one pre-filled thing, but the next step for you is you choose your class, upper, middle, or lower class. And depending on that choice, that will determine what your next trait is. So if you choose upper class, then you have lorefulness as a trait. If you choose middle class, you have wisdom and ways of science. If you choose lower class, you have druidry. So entirely up to you and your kind of vision for this character.
All right.
So I could roll randomly, or I could select one that I like. Is as far as the bardistry accoutrements?
Well, if I'm your head of light entertainment and it's my rules, and I'll say you have to roll. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Perfect.
But it's kind of dealer's choice. Yeah. It's kind of. I mean, if your head of light entertainment is super accommodating, he might let you choose, but there'll be none of that here tonight.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, so I've got while Luanika is finding his dice, I've got mine rolled up. So my authoritative item is the Domesday Book, which once per day I can wield the book to levy attacks, make an authority roll. That many shopkeepers in the area must hand over pieces of currency. If I carry the item openly, shopkeepers and merchants will show great disdain, or they'll be really nice and later hire someone to kill you. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I also have.
So
a
you
hymnal
rolled a
and a
10.
crossbow. I did. I rolled a 10.
You rolled
on
10.
mine.
So
Yeah.
the 10 on each of the tables is kind of the big one.
Yeah.
Which sometimes has a one-time use, as yours does, or does something additional.
Yeah.
You also noted the pluses.
Correct. Yeah,
that come
gives
with
you
that.
+1 wisdom in the ways of science. Yeah.
But again, look at the top of the table. All
Yep.
grant +1 to authority.
Yep.
So it gives you a +1 to authority and a +1 to wisdom, ways of science.
Yep.
Okay. And sorry, what do you have? You have strategy.
Strategy and purpose. And so my purpose item is a hymnal, and my strategy item is a crossbow.
All right.
So.
Okay.
All right. And for bardistry, I rolled a 2. I have a trumpet, which gives me +1 to valor and +1 to all bardistry rolls.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think the only thing lacking then is, Luanika, your luck accoutrement.
Yep. And let me roll again. Here I'm rolling a 9, so I have amber. And this is on page 69 of all places, which gives me a +1 to wisdom in the ways of science.
And to luck.
And +1 to all luck rolls.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So now you need to fill in the rest of these lines. And you can fill these in with either traits or with retainers. But it depends on what your situation is. So Josh, as a monarch, you already have a manservant, but you can choose to fill that line with a valet or handmaiden or a jester as a second retainer, or you can choose a trait from among a certain list of them. So if you have page 105 handy, that's where Create a Monarch is. You'll see which ones you have to choose from. If you decide to choose a retainer, just hang on for me, and then I'll come back to you and we'll do the retainer. Same thing for the enchanter. You have the option of filling in each of those 4 lines with either a retainer, and you can choose between an apprentice or a homunculus, or you can have one of each if you like, just on separate lines, or a trait from amongst, in your case, argumentation, luck, nimbleness, strategy, subtlety. And then, Luanika, for you, your next, actually what you have to do next is choose your muse. So if it's Calliope, then the trait that you have to have in the next slot is argumentation. If it's Cleo, then it has to be lawfulness. If it's Erato, it has to be decorum. So and so on for the 7 muses.
Okay.
Sorry, 9 muses. So if you are on page 111, you'll see all the muses there and what trait comes with them if you choose them as your inspiration.
Okay.
And you can choose this one. I won't make you roll a D9 for this one.
Let's see.
Okay. And since all of you have the option, well, I guess, since all of you have the option to choose a retainer, I'll tell you quickly how retainers work. So I'll show you on the Monarch character sheet, like the one Josh is using. You see we got manservant down here. And if you look closely in the accoutrement box here, you see how it's divided in two?
Mm-hmm.
That's because what retainers do is they carry two items, not just one.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a retainer, then you're going to be rolling twice on a table or on two different tables, depending on what you choose. That's the primary advantage of having one, is you've got two pieces of equipment that you can add. So up to you guys if you'd rather have a trait or a retainer, but that's how they work. If you do choose to have a retainer, and Josh, you'll have to do this either way because you have one.
Yep, because I have one. Yep.
Automatically. Then if you see on page 88, 89, these are all the starting retainers.
Okay.
And in your case, you have a manservant.
I do.
So you would, it tells you here which accoutrement types the manservant can carry. And then you would roll, you don't have that trait. It just means that's the type of equipment. So you choose which two and roll on those tables, or choose the same one twice if you like.
Got it.
And then you also want to make a note of what the per diem is.
Yep.
Manservant, you got to pay them 1 chicken per day.
I like it.
And so for you guys, like if you choose the homunculus, same thing, except they have specific types of equipment they can carry, and you have to pay them a different per diem.
So just to take a quick step back here. So for my fourth attribute, I picked Valor, thinking that would be a monarchical ability to go ahead and have, and rolled that my accoutrement is a knightly helmet. However, I only rolled a 1 on my D8, so my knightly helmet is a wooden bucket. So
that's very valorous.
That's very valorous. Yeah. I'll take the +1 to luck, because I was thinking about going luck instead of valor, so I'll take the +1 to my luck. But that's
it's going to be hard for people to take you seriously.
I mean, fair. Yeah, that's all right. Manservant. All right.
Michael, how you doing with the enchanter?
I think I'm doing well. Give me 1 second, and then I'll go over what I've been cooking here, and you can let me know if I did it right or wrong.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're good. Just let me know if you have questions as you're doing it.
Okay. So I have chosen the muse Thalia, which has the trait glibness.
Okay.
As I'm looking at the sheet, I would write Thalia in the muse section. And
glibness right there.
Yep, and glibness right there. All right. And then if I move on to the next line, I can fill an open line with a retainer, a minstrel, or a poet, or a trait. What do I wish to do?
Oh, you chose the muse of comedy.
Yes.
You're the first person that I've run this for, the first troubadour that didn't choose errato, the muse of romance and naughty poetry.
I'm going to do that anyway. I don't need a mechanic for that. There are some things that one just does not need to double down upon. All right,
Okay.
let's see here.
So if I've done this correctly, I've chosen to be middle class, which requires me to have wisdom in the ways of science.
Right.
Which grants me scales, parentheses large, and +1 to authority. For my other 3 traits, I decided to do all of them as traits. I took luck, nimbleness, and strategy. So I rolled the dice for all those. So luck, I got a rabbit's foot, which grants me an extra +1 luck, but a -1 to animal husbandry. Nimble, I got +1 to, and again, these all come with +1 to their base thing. I got llama skin gloves, which gives me +1 to glibness. And then I took strategery, which came with a book of Trojan woodland creatures, a +1 to lorefulness. And that is as far as I have so far. So middle class, and I have all 5 traits and their accoutrement.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. I have given my manservant his accoutrement, and let me just say that after rolling a 10 on my first accoutrement, everything has gone drastically downhill from there. My manservant has a chessboard, which is fine. He also has a wooden churn of bodily substances, which I'm hoping is not my helmet.
Yeah. So essentially, your any retainer that you have, you will use the equipment that they're carrying as if you are. Right. So
fantastic.
they supply that with you. So
Fabulous.
should you need to make a hardness roll, then you would be adding that the bonus that the wooden churn of bodily substance gives you. Okay. So
sorry, actually, on that question right there. So the wooden churn gives me a +1 to all trait roll versus Gumby's, but I thought we didn't get that. We get that with the accoutrement that my manservant has?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect.
In addition to the +1 to hardiness, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Do I also have to take the negative? Because it has a -1 to wisdom in the ways of science. It had been a +1 earlier.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Yeah, that's the way that works, isn't it? Yeah. I knew that was the way that worked.
Yeah.
I would ask anyway. Okay.
But don't worry too much. This isn't the program. Is not for the min-max types anyway.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Yeah.
There's no perfect starting setup, and you'll see when we get to the next step, which is assigning your starting dice for each of these things, that it doesn't do to get too precious about your character build, because it's going to change a lot as the session goes on, and you also might just die immediately. It's a very lethal system. So now the next thing we need to do is figure out what die you're going to roll whenever each of your traits is called upon, whenever you use these things or when you're forced to use them, because something's doing something to you. So you see how we have this dice continuum across the top?
Yep.
So for each of your traits, not for each of your retainers, only traits, you're going to have a mark in one of these boxes that tells you what die you are for each of these things. So for Bardistry, you might start out with, say, a D14. You just place a little check mark or something under D14, so you know I'm using Bardistry, and you can look there and know that's the die you're rolling.
Okay.
But the way that we determine what die you start with, this doesn't count for you, Michael. You're an enchanter, and for you, it's weird and different the way it happens. But for the Monarch and the Troubadour, you just have an array of dice that you can choose from. So for the Monarch, you've got 1d18, 1d14, 1d10, 1d8, and you can assign them however you like. For the Troubadour, and again, this is on your the page for creating your particular situation. You've got 2d16s, 1d10, 2d6s that you can assign as you will. The other thing that you can do, if you so choose, is you can roll for them, and you'll roll a d20 for each of them. And the advantage to doing it that way is that if you get an odd numbered result, you can round up.
Okay.
Or you can just
So how does rolling for it work? So if I rolled a d20, let's see.
You roll a d20, and that if you roll a 12, that means you've got a d12 to begin with.
Oh, okay. So I rolled a 7, so I can roll up to a d8.
Round it up, and so you start with a d8 and whatever trait you were rolling
Something,
for.
right? Oh, okay. Yeah. You have to. Okay. All right. Okay.
Now, Michael, for you, it's a little bit different. You have to roll for your starting traits, and you're going to roll a d10 for each one, and a 1 means you have a d4, a 2, a d6, a 3, a d8, and so on.
Yep. Yeah, I
And
roll.
if you roll it,
go ahead.
If you roll a 10, you can choose what die you start out with.
Yes. So I actually rolled 2 10s to start with. Now, since I'm I'm an enchanter, and the D12 is the best die. Even though I rolled a 10, I picked D12 for my sorcery, and then it would be D18 for wisdom, a 14 for luck, 14 for nimble, and a 16 for strategic. So I rolled pretty well in those D10. So that's my starting values.
How did you come up with D12 being the best die?
It's objectively the best die. It's the best polyhedral that's ever been made.
Oh, you mean just the best shape?
Yes,
oh, okay.
it is objectively the perfect polyhedral.
You'll find no argument here. Okay.
He did a whole episode on his philosophy on the D12, Brian. It's
yeah. He wrote a whole game about it.
I wrote a whole game about it. Just because I love the D12.
I thought he'd done some like serious mathematical parsing of the system and come up the reason why that's the best. Okay.
I'm sure that Michael seems a great.
He manifested a reality.
Right.
I don't know that serious mathematical work on is Michael's forte. Yeah. I could be wrong about that. Michael could be like a mathematical genius, but I don't think.
Yeah. I work in a school, and I often cover classes, and anytime they're doing math and they have questions like, no, you got to wait. you do not want me open. If you want me to read a paragraph and tell you what the blue rose means, I'm your guy. But why these numbers make that thing? No.
All right.
So are you teaching Twin Peaks then?
Yeah, exactly.
So if everyone has a die value assigned to each one of your traits, then we're ready to.
I don't have that quite yet.
Okay.
Can you remind me the page that has the? Okay, I found it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Got it.
That one.
Yeah. Let's see. And am I?
And Josh, you're set with your values?
Yep. Okay. I've got a D18 for my authoritative. I've got D8 for purpose, D14 for strategy, and D10 for valor. Okay.
So this is optional, but if you guys want to have a look at page 45, you're going to see a list of all 18 traits, and their most serious and most silly expressions. And you'll see on the pre-filled character sheet how we've written the most serious and most silly in there. It's purely for flavor, but it's so that when you're describing your character, you're not saying, I have a D10 for bardistry. Rather, you're saying, well, I'm a bit bing tittle tittle bong, or I'm quite shit luck, as opposed to just I have a die. So if you want to take a note of those extreme expressions, that you're welcome to. But
I love how the negative side on strategy is Mick Kamikaze Highlander.
Oh yeah.
Well done.
No. There's some really ridiculous ones in there.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think I lost my page. Where do I find the Troubadour page again?
111.
111. Okay, gotcha.
And step 6 is where your dice array is.
Yep. Okay. So I have 2 16s, 2 d10s, and 2 d6s, or by rolling for each. So
1d10.
Yeah, 1d10. All right. So I'm going to go d16 for Bardistry. I'm going to go d16 for Luck. I'm going to go d10 for Hardiness. And then drop my d6s for the remaining 2, which will be Strategy and Wisdom in the Ways of Science.
Okay. So
right.
The way it works, as I said, is whenever you're using one of those traits, you'll just refer to your sheet to tell you which of the die you're meant to roll. But a couple of things to note. One is that these values change a lot during the course of the session, because if you ever roll the max value of a die, you have streuthed the roll. And what that means is you get to move your die value one step towards serious. So the next time you're testing it, you're going to be using the higher die. So using some sort of erasable mark there, or a physical thing on your sheet is a good idea. The other thing that happens when you strew the roll is it's exploding dice. You immediately can roll that higher value die and add the result to it. And if that strews, then you just move it up again and keep rolling. So if you got a low value in one of your traits, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're more likely to struth it. But and then you're of course adding all of your pluses from your accoutrements at the end of the roll. But the pluses cannot bump you up into a struth. It has to be a natural 6 on a d6 or a 12 on a d12.
But there is a penalty for like rolling too well, right? I remember reading something that if that happens, that's actually kind of bad.
That's right. So if the result of any roll, whether it's a 20 on a d20 or struthing other dice, is 20 or higher, you've taken the whole thing too seriously. You've made everyone uncomfortable, and you're going to incur a demerit. So
perfect. Yes.
So now the opposite of struthing is spamming. So if you ever get a natural 1 on a die roll, you spammed the roll, and in addition to probably failing at whatever you were trying to do, you're going to move the die 1 degree towards silly for that trait. And you're also going to take a demerit. And we'll get into kind of merits and demerits and how those things work. But that's how your traits change over the course of the game. And if you ever are using a trait that is not on your sheet, then you have to roll a d4 for it. So what that means is anybody can use bardistry, anybody can use sorcery, anybody can use any of the traits. It's just if it's not on your sheet, you're rolling a d4, which means you got a 1 in 4 chance of struthing it and rolling a d6 and adding that to it. But you've also got a 1 in 4 chance of spamming it, and so it's risky. Last thing about traits is make note of your indifference. So every situation is indifferent to one particular trait. And this means that the simplest way to put it is it means you can't ever roll a die for that trait. So if some attack targets that particular trait, you don't have it. It doesn't affect you for whatever reason, whether you just, you're completely indifferent, immune, for whatever reason, and it's usually just narratively explained why it is that thing didn't affect you. But likewise, you can't roll a die if you want to say use that trait. So the troubadour is, of course, indifferent to chastity. So should someone try to shame the troubadour with their chastity or challenge his chastity, completely indifferent. It's just deaf to it. And the monarch cannot be argued with, argumentation.
Correct. Yeah.
And the enchanter, I think.
So Josh playing Josh.
And Lewanika playing Lewanika.
Largely accurate.
Right. We're typecast here.
That's right.
Not that large.
Okay, so each of you should, if you don't have a class chosen already, I mean, the monarch, you have to be upper class. Troubadour and enchanter can choose. I think Michael, you've already chosen, but troubadour, you can choose between upper, middle, or lower class. And
I think I'm going to choose upper.
Okay. So just circle that one on your sheet.
Got it.
And then your starting death and loony statuses are already marked on these sheets.
Yes.
Got a little box there, but as you take bits of loony or bits of death, that's where you'll make a mark. And if you hit no more or coconuts, you snuffed it. Now we need to figure out how much starting currency you begin with. So it'll be a D30 roll, but there are 10 currencies in the game, and each of you starts out with a different one. So the troubadour's currency to begin with is upper class twit trading cards. So you roll a D30 to see how many of those you start with. Anybody can use or carry any type of currency, but you begin with a particular type.
Right. And D30, am I rolling 3D10 or?
No, it'd be just a D30 if you have.
If you don't have one, there's an online roller. You can just Google D30.
I think I got one somewhere on my phone. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. I got 6 gemstones for the sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
I have my DCC dice somewhere. Let's see if I got those.
I have 21 rolls of cheese.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that sounds heavy. Good thing you got a retainer to haul that
Thankfully, I
around.
have a manservant. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And which also explains the wooden churn full of bodily substances. I mean,
he's churning you up some more.
Yeah.
Is his name Monger? Cheesemonger?
Yes. It is now. Chaz. His name's Chazmonger.
Chazmonger?
Chazmonger?
Chaz.
Chazmonger. Chazmonger.
As like short for Charles, Chaz.
Yeah.
Chazmonger.
I think he's quite tall.
So next, each of you will have a more or less flavorful choice to make here. So the enchanter, you need to choose your element: fire, water, air, earth, spam. I mean, whatever you want your element to be. And this is just when you use sorcery, it will sort of manifest in this way. Okay. But it can be anything. It can be filth or whatever you want it to be. Okay. The monarch, you have to choose a charming eccentricity. Popular choices include not being able to remember the difference between two numbers, severe alcoholism, predilection for inbreeding, certain issues resulting from being the product of inbreeding, and so forth. Yep. And troubadour, you are going to compose an oratorio or whatever it is you troubadours do. And then aside from a name, that's it. Although I would encourage you to flip over your character sheet and familiarize yourself with your particular situation's spiffing serious ability. This is your kind of nuclear option should it come to it. You can use this anytime you want, and it's not a trait roll. You just roll a straight D30 and consult this chart to see what happens. So the troubadour can woo his muse in order to create some effect. The monarch can call up an army or attempt to. The enchanter can channel his element to create some game, perhaps even world-changing event. And that one is at your disposal at any time.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
All right.
There are a handful of
Yes. And I can certainly assure you that Wolseley Gilespie will be very happy to join in this adventure.
Woosley.
Woosley?
Wolseley Gilespie.
Woosley.
Like
All right.
Woosley. Isn't that little Italian pasta? Woosley.
No. I have an uncle who was very dizzy all the time.
Oh.
And he came from the village of Gillespie. So I am
Okay.
Wolseley Gilespie, the trumpet playing troubadour.
Mhm.
Nice.
What about our enchanter?
I'm not 100%, but right now I'm leaning towards Toffee because he's always eating and you can't understand a word he says. So it's just always talking this. I'm not sure how well that would translate to audio media. So I might come up with something different before now and then.
What is your when you enchant, what is your output? Like what's your element? There we go.
Well, I went with Toph, who's the greatest bender of all time. So Toffee was kind of a play on
She
Toph
is
from
too.
Avatar.
Yeah, fair.
She is too.
I like it.
I would say this: you're probably pretty salty.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Salty and watery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Come on, man!
Lots
I
of
gave
puns.
you dizzy.
Nope.
That was good.
Yeah. Dizzy Gillespie. Yep.
So I like it. I like it. This is gonna be an awful lot of fun. So yeah, Brian, we will see you again next week. And then next week on the show here, you will hear our playthrough of the Monty Python where is it? The Cocurricular medieval reenactment program. There's a lot of words in that. That's
a lot. No, it's okay. It's
Allow
it's
the
kind of-
troubadour to take us out on this one. Hang on one
like
second.
it. Yeah.
Monty Python's Curricula Medieval Reenactment Program.
Cocurricular.
Cocurricular.
Take two. Monty Python's Cocurricular Medieval Reenactment Program.
Yeah. Not a bad monologue for a trumpet player.
You had the right emphasis on the correct syllable.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's our show for this week. Brian, we'll see you next week when we start throwing dice at this thing. So, until then, everybody, enjoy. Check it out. Check out the Cocurricular Medieval Reenactment Program by Crowbar Creative. And yeah, we'll see you next week with our actual playthrough. So, until then, have a good night, everybody.
Be sure to make some characters yourself and talk to us about them in the comments.
Oh,
We'd love
yeah.
to see what you put together as well.
Oh, and not just that, but like if you have anything silly that you want us to do, you throw it in the comments and we will try to go ahead and work it in next week's episode.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If we get good stuff, we will find a way to get it in.
We will find
episode.
a way to get it in there. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
all right. Perfect.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.